A leader is born. The early life of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He came into the world on January 15, 1929. His birth name was Michael, but his father later changed it to Martin. Dr. King grew up during a time of segregation. This meant black people were treated differently and unfairly. He saw the injustices black people faced every day. This sparked a fire in him to fight for equality. Dr. King was a bright student. He skipped grades in school and went to college at a young age. He believed in the power of education. He earned a doctorate in theology, becoming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King's strong faith guided his belief in nonviolent resistance. He believed in fighting for justice peacefully. A stand for equality. Dr. King's achievements in the civil rights movement. Dr. King became a pastor in Montgomery, Alabama. This is where he started his journey as a civil rights leader. In 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. This act of defiance sparked the Montgomery Bus Boycott. Dr. King led the boycott, which lasted over a year. It brought national attention to the issue of segregation. The boycott was a success. It led to the desegregation of buses in Montgomery. Dr. King went on to lead many other protests and marches. One of the most famous was the March on Washington in 1963. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered to demand equality and justice. It was at this march that Dr. King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. In his speech, he shared his dream of a world where people were judged by their character, not their skin color. A day for remembrance. The establishment of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Dr. King's fight for equality came at a price. He was arrested, attacked, and threatened many times. But he never gave up on his belief in peace and justice. Tragically, Dr. King was assassinated on April 4, 1968. His death was a huge loss for the civil rights movement. But his message of love and equality continued to inspire people around the world. After his death, people began to call for a national holiday to honor Dr. King. It took many years of campaigning and activism. Finally, in 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill making the third Monday of January Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The first national holiday was observed in 1986. A legacy of change. Honoring Dr. King's memory today. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is more than just a day off from school or work. It is a day to remember and honor the legacy of a great man. It is a day to reflect on the progress we have made in the fight for civil rights. It is also a day to acknowledge the work that still needs to be done. We can honor Dr. King's legacy by continuing his work. We can fight for justice and equality for all people. We can volunteer in our communities and speak out against injustice. We can teach our children about Dr. King's message of peace and love. By honoring his legacy, we keep his dream alive.